Hello everyone, I hope you're all safe and good. Today we are going to start with the first theme in our reading book, which is family issues. First of all, as you can see in the picture, it shows that there is an argument between the parents and the children are annoyed because of this argument. Today we are going to discuss what are family issues, what usually happens in families that causes some problems, maybe between parents themselves or between parents and their children. First of all, we are going to talk about some family issues. What are some family issues? Some family issues are such as substance abuse, divorce, parenting disagreements, betrayal, health, communication, generation gap. All of these are kinds of family issues that might happen and cause problems between family members. Today we are going to start with the theme, which is family issues. This is a window on the theme. We are going to start with it. It shows us some pictures that are related to families, such as family gatherings, the relation between parents and children, children spending time together, some parents playing basketball with their children, and so on. It also shows, as you can see here, a mother that is cleaning her house and so on. So all of these are related to family issues, to family in general. Today we are going to explain exactly what do we mean by family issues and what are some problems that families might face. Before we start, we are going to explain one of the comprehension skills, which is the figures of speech. We are going to explain figures of speech, three types of figures of speech, which are simile, metaphor, and personification. First of all, we are going to talk about the meaning of the word figurative. What do I mean by figurative? When I say figurative language, it means there is a way in which I have to figure out what it means. And when I say literal language, it means the words function exactly as defined. For example, let's see the example here. It says, the car is blue. This shows that the car is really blue. It shows the exact meaning of the word. In the figurative language, we talk about a way how to figure out the meaning of the word, which is, for example, I've got your back. When I say I've got your back, it means I protect you, I'm here for you, but I cannot figure out the meaning directly from the sentence. I have to think about the meaning before I talk about it. Let's start now with the figures of speech, the types of figures of speech. We said that we are going to explain three types: the simile, the metaphor, and the personification. First of all, we are going to start with the simile. The simile is a direct comparison between two things. Pay attention, between two things that are unalike. So when I say this is a simile, it means we are comparing two things which are unalike, but they resemble each other in at least one aspect. So in a simile also we use the words as or like or similar to in order to compare. For example, the history paper was as tricky as a labyrinth. So here I'm comparing the history paper to the labyrinth. I'm just comparing two things, a paper to an animal here, but to show that this exam was difficult or was tricky. In the second example, at exam time, the high school student was as busy as a bee. So here I'm describing or I'm comparing the student with a bee to show that this student was studying hard and was very busy. Let's move to the second kind of figures of speech, which is the metaphor. The metaphor is an indirect comparison also between one thing and another without using any tool of comparison. So in a simile, we used a as, like, or similar to, But in the metaphor, we do not use any tool of comparison. Let's look at the examples. She is fishing in troubled water. She is fishing in troubled water. So I'm describing the water as troubled. It means I'm describing the water as full of problems, so as if she is working on something or she's doing something which is will lead to many problems. He drowned in a sea of grief. Also, we are describing or comparing. There is an indirect comparison here. It means that he fell in many problems, in many difficulties in his life. Now let's move to the third kind of figures of speech, which is the personification. From the first part of the word person, it shows that we take any characteristic from a person, from people, and we give it to an animal or plant or thing, and so on. So personification represents the characters or the feelings or behaviors of a person, and we give these characteristics to animals or things. For example, the sky weeps. Here, weeps means cries. Usually, the sky doesn't cry. Who cries? The person. So we took the action of crying from the person and we gave it to the sky to show that it is raining. The shadow of the moon danced on the lake. Also, who dances? Human dances. We took the action of dancing and we gave it to the moon. There's a very short exercise that we're going to solve here together. I'm going to solve it with you now. Jenny had cooked the candy too long. When she was ready to put it in squares, it was a rock. So we are describing the candy to a rock, and we didn't use any comparison tools, so this is a metaphor. Number two, Sue Ann worked hard on her report. After she gave it before the class, she felt light as a feather. So I'm describing Sue Ann as light as a feather. This shows, and there is a comparison tool which is as. This shows that she felt relaxed after she gave her report in front of the class. So this is a simile. The trees of the forest sympathetically watched her, the lost child. So the trees do not watch. Who watches usually? The human watch. So we used the action of a human and gave it to the trees. So this is a personification. The storm was a savage beast. I'm describing the storm to a savage beast without using any comparison tool. So this is a metaphor. Number 5, the day after the rain, the air was clean and fresh. A soft little breeze carried the scent of lilacs. Usually, who carries? Usually a person. So we gave the action of carrying to the soft little breeze. So this is a personification. The boys' room was an amusement arcade. Also, this is a metaphor. I'm comparing the boys' room to an amusement arcade without using any tool of comparison. Computers talk to one another. This is a personification because computers do not talk. So we took the characteristic or the action of talking from human and we gave it to a computer. Louise is as strong as and tall as a redwood. We used a comparison tool here, which is as. So this is a simile. The train whistle screamed as the train flew through the tunnel. Screamed is an action of a human. So this is a personification. The last one, the waxed floor was as slippery as an ice rink. We have a comparison tool, which is as, and we compared the waxed floor to an ice rink. So this is a simile. Now let's move to the vocabulary words. Before I start with the vocabulary, there is some idiomatic expressions that I want to explain. For example, make a big fuss about. It means may become angry about something. On an empty stomach, it means having eaten nothing. Cyber friend is a friend whom one communicates only through the internet. Once in a while means from time to time, every now and then. On the spot means now, immediately, directly. Let's now start with the vocab words and let's explain them. The word budget. Budget means plan of how money will be spent. Shattered, to break at once into pieces. For example, um, a certain plate shattered, it means it was broken into pieces. Pathetic means heartbreaking. Toddler, a young child usually between 1 and 3 years old. This is called a toddler. Skyrocketed, to cause or to rise or increase and rapidly, to increase something but rapidly or very quickly. Co-workers, one who works with another, a fellow worker. A co-worker is a person that works with you. Detrimental, detrimental means damaging or harmful. Snip, a cut or notch. Snip means a cut or a notch or a small piece of something. Cascade means fall. Number 10, indiscretion, an action or remark that shows lack of judgment. Income, income is the money you earn from your work or investment. Chuckle means a quiet laugh. When you laugh quietly, it means you are chuckling, same as what's happening here in this picture. Wink, a quick action of closing and opening one eye. This is a wink. Contentious means likely to cause disagreement or argument. It means to cause a certain problem or argument. Now let's start with our reading lesson. I am going to read the text and explain it for you before we end up our session. Let's start now with paragraph 1. If you have your books, this is on page 14. If you do not have your book, you can just follow up here on the lecture. Let's start. The title of our lesson is The Iron Woman. And let's start reading the text. Like other typical modern women, I had a busy life during my 23 years of marriage, raising 3 sons, taking care of my home, working half-time at a career, and preparing a master's degree. Imagine these are the things one woman did at the same time. Although we had the normal stresses in a marriage, such as financial difficulties, career decisions, and bringing up children, we appeared to many to be a perfect couple with a happy family and secure life. I felt so sorry for my friends who had gone through divorce and glad I could never have to go through that myself. So now they are talking about what happened with them or how their life was going on as a couple. Paragraph 2. Well, the day my husband left home, my world was shattered. So here maybe the problem started. I had to stand up on my own feet without the person I always trusted. Life, as they say, would never be the same. I felt my family dissolved. I was broken almost to the point of no return. I grieved as if my husband had just been killed. I felt worthless to my children and everyone else. I was a pathetic, tearful, fearful, insecure mess. My friends would say that it would get better and that the pain would eventually subside, but I found it too difficult to believe. I lost about 30 pounds because I could not eat. My grief caused my stomach to be tied in a knot. So, suddenly, after they were a perfect couple, something happened. Her husband left the house, as she mentioned here in paragraph 2. Her husband left the house and she found herself alone fighting in this life. As you can see in this paragraph, she is describing how she felt. Okay, let's move to paragraph 3. Within a few months, my 3 boys and I were still a family. I realized becoming financially independent was such a wonderful feeling. While we were married, my ex handled the finances. Ex means my husband, the person who was my husband. and I just trusted him to do it. Being a single mom, I had a lot of learning to do. I had never made a budget, done my own taxes, or made any decisions about insurance companies, credit cards, etc. I found that I could manage the household myself. It was not easy, especially with repairs, but I did manage to stay in our home and handle the finances myself. In a way, I felt like a toddler taking a first step. I did it by myself. I had that feeling over and over again as I took on decisions or chores that I had not done before. So when her husband left the house, she was obliged to do some of the chores alone. She was obliged to take some decisions alone, even though she had three children. My self confidence skyrocketed, and I found myself encouraging other women that they could do the same. I was almost finished with a master's degree when we parted ways. When we parted ways, it means when we separated. It was 2 years later when I completed the degree. What an accomplishment that was. After my friends and family told me how proud they were of me, I began to feel it myself. I would never have believed that I would do it a few years ago. So it seems the problem here, the family issue in this text is divorce. This is the main problem in the text, and the main problem is how this woman was able to overcome all of these challenges and difficulties alone, even though she was a single mom. Of course, by the support of her family and friends. Paragraph 5. Gradually, I came to learn that I was a complete person on my own. I found parts of myself I did not know that they existed. I became a freer, more confident woman. My co-workers of almost 20 years, who had always loved and supported me, began commenting on how they liked the new me. I was more fun and more self-assured. I became more self-assertive. I learned how to make decisions about my life, how I wanted to spend my time and money, and what I wanted in relations with others. I recognized patterns in my behavior that were detrimental to my happiness, and I tried to change them. I am now responsible for my own happiness, and I can say that I am happier now than when I was married. It is a long process, but I am making and I am now fully believe I now fully believe those people who told me it would get better. So at the end of the text, we can see that even though some people pass through some problems in life, but they have to overcome them, especially the family issues such as divorce, generation gap, and so on. These are very important to overcome. Thank you all for listening.